You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Joshua Rubin.
Hey, how's it going? Good
Are
morning.
you as good as the sandwich?
No, that's actually, I'm better, but it's spelled differently.
Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and what do you do professionally?
So right now, I'm an entrepreneur, skateboarder, father, and professionally, what I'm doing now, I'm running a couple businesses, a few brands. The main one right now is my Rain Barrel or Michigan Rain Barrel, and it's a sustainable company. But I just forayed into a new industry into coffee. So we're doing pop coffee roasters, small batch coffee, Artisan coffee roaster. I collaborated. So right now, those are my two main things.
Did you become an entrepreneur just because you like creating stuff?
Basically, I went to art school, back up, didn't go to business school, just kind of always had a knack for selling and had an opportunity to work in the family business, which was in the container industry, drums and barrels, 55-gallon drums. It was all wholesale. It was all boring, good money, salary, but
And that's your first
wasn't.
business?
Yeah, that was a job, so it was like not fulfilling. So I started thinking about branding myself and creating my own LLC.
Yeah, making your own piece, man.
Yeah, so that was 3 years ago. Actually, I started my own company, and no looking back. I've been making my own way.
Is it now? I know a lot of people say like, oh, like, because I think we think in this old mentality, at least a lot like my parents, your parents probably think in the mentality of like owning a business. It's hard to do. You might as well get a job. It's a 9 to 5, playing it safe. But it seems like in the world right now, there is no room for playing it safe. The whole factor is it's taking that risk, not having a job, starting up your own business. It's starting to increase more and more and more now. We're seeing so many people that are working from home creating their own products. And I start to wonder, is that just because we've been so suppressed that creativity is just so big now?
You know, I do think you really are onto something there. Yeah. So I'm a creative person. I actually, I said I went to art school. I got a scholarship for painting. I ended up doing film, and then what that taught me was how to brand myself and sell myself as a company. And I went to Chicago, so it was flourishing with awesome ideas and creativity. Advertising industry's got a pretty good seat there. So I was surrounded and immersed in that. But when I came back here to Detroit, even though the city is coming back really hard, I felt a really big lack of that. And I kind of, in a way, to my benefit, stood out because of that. So I feel you're right, because in the after the recession, maybe in the last decade, we were coming back. I feel creativity was suppressed to a point where the Rain Barrel Company, for example, was really 10 years ago when the brand was invented, was really powerful. And then something happened where the green, being sustainable, you know, kind of fell out of style. So, um, I poured more into the company, and now it's caught on like wildfire, and they're selling, I'm on Amazon selling all over the country, at a, double the price point we entered at. And we're, you know, making moves where, I didn't really think it was viable at one point. I was nervous. I was like, wow, is this going to work? My parents are still asking me. They're like, can you make a living off this? Are you actually, like you said, like the older generation, and you got to take risks. You're
When you
right.
start being an entrepreneur, though, like that's probably one of the biggest downsides is just when you start your own business, you never know where it's going to go. I mean, I can kind of relate it a little bit to just a podcast in general. I mean, I've been doing this like my second year, and there are times I'm like, what's like,
Congratulations.
it's not going anywhere. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like you feel like you hit a wall, you feel like you hit something, and I'm just like, I never wanted to turn it into a business, obviously. I mean, that would be awesome if I could do this just for a living. I'm pretty sure like every other podcaster just wants to get paid for talking, but when it comes to starting your own business, there's that point you get in your life where you're like, I don't want to fucking do this anymore, and I want to do my own thing.
Yeah.
And I get that all the time. I mean, I thought I was going to be the person that's working the 9 to 5 lifestyle every single day, doing that. And after a while, you're like, what is this getting me? Like, I'm going to, in 40 years from now, I'm going to be
Yeah.
at the same place, maybe making way more money, but it's like, I'm not going to have anything that's mine that I built from the ground up. It's like literally when you have a kid and you watch a kid grow, it's that feeling because you're like, holy shit, my business is actually making its own stuff now. I don't have to put so much more money into it. But that's a
Yeah.
problem for a lot of people because, it takes a lot of entrepreneurs to get to a point of losing a job or having something happen in their life or getting hit with an idea where they have to risk it all and see where it goes. And a lot of times it doesn't pay off. But we're in a world now where social media, everything that we have, our devices, all these things it's so easy. All the options and available things are there for you to be able to, you can fucking Amazon 2 day ship anything to your house. I mean, if you're going to make a product like crazy.
Yeah. And that's again, like what I've learned like in the last 3 years. It, it, it took, I'm not going to lie, you just hit the nail on the head, man. I was literally on unemployment and had, do I go get a job? And I tried to get a job and I was like first in line to some company to get like a head sales position, and it fell through, and I had, savings. So I decided to open my own business. And all right, there. Sorry, I had a call come in, but I just declined it. So we're saying, what I'm saying is that it did take that. It took being at the bottom to realize that I want to bet on myself. I want to put some skin in the game. I want to see what I can do. And it was scary as hell, man. It still is. Honestly, it's I have 2 daughters. I was a young parent. That also, I guess, too, like you were saying, watching a kid grow, literally, hella good motivation there. It's not everyone's path, but it's mine.
We're living in like a 9 to 5 lifestyle, but people aren't 9 to 5 anymore. And we've
I
totally
never could
shifted.
adapt to that
Yeah.
lifestyle. Never. I was always I was late. I was fired from every job I ever had. I was never intended to be an employee.
Yeah,
I
like
tried.
I try my hardest at everywhere I work, and like if I get fired from something, which it's only happened like once, and
Mhm.
those moments though, like you feel like the place that you lost, you feel like you're worthless a little bit. You know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like you don't fit in, like a puzzle piece that just doesn't go anywhere from like a different puzzle,
Hell yeah. That's a good
and
analogy.
it makes it complicated because that sometimes people say that the best option was for you to leave that place, was for you to do this. And it's like, yeah, but it was the one place where I had a routine, I was comfortable, I had all this type of stuff. And it's like, shit, well, guess what? Someone just ripped the carpet out from under your feet and now you got to go after something.
Yeah.
You got to figure out if you want to go get another job, if you want to build yourself up, or if you just want to keep doing the same shit over and over again and get nowhere.
We call that the safety net. So once your safety net is gone, you're fully out there. It's sink or swim. You're either going to sink or you're going to swim. There's really no in between. You're not just going to, maybe those jobs you're kind of just floating by. That's kind of how people feel for a long time. I think I felt for a long time I was just floating by when I had that job. I wasn't fulfilled. I'm way more on a roller coaster right now, but it's taking me places. It's networking. I'm doing things that my strengths. I feel more on a daily basis. I feel more alive. And the last 3 years have been wonderful. They've been terrible. They've been everything. And I wouldn't change it. Being an entrepreneur is in my DNA. So.
How did you switch it to coffee though? How did you pick that out of
That's a
anything?
good question. You know what? So I'm a very passionate person. I spend a lot of time skateboarding. I spend a lot of time, um, you know, out of the office. I work remotely. One of the places I work from are coffee shops, and I always have.
You were a
I've done,
barista?
but no. So one of my best friends is.
Does
But
he
I do
spell
make
the name right?
but yes, and he is the other half of Pop Coffee. So I know that your listeners can't see the bag, but so that's us. And so my buddy Jordan Westcott is the other half of Pop Coffee, and we met 3 years ago. And I, for the last decade, been in and out of coffee shops, working on everything some of my best work, websites built and, deals made were in coffee shops across the country too for traveling. So I'm the aficionado, connoisseur coffee guy, marketing and business brains behind the operation, while my other half, Jordan, he handles roasting. He's actually your age. He's 22 and he is a genius roaster. I don't know how he kind of fell into roasting coffee, but he has a knack for it. He's talented. And I could see for once I wanted to invest in somebody else instead of myself. Like I told you before, investing in myself was one of the best things I ever did, but that led me to the opportunity to be able to invest in someone else who's really talented, who maybe been, yeah, not the short end of the stick, but like, missed an opportunity roasting for this company and missed another one roasting for that company and really wants to roast. You can just see it in it.
Yeah.
So I came to him one day and asked if he wanted to start a coffee company. He said no. He shot me down. It was 6 months ago. And then I asked him again, and it was the right time. And he said, hell yeah. And we ordered the coffee, and that was, we no looking back. And we've been getting rave reviews. I've been collaborating. I think that's kind of how we stumbled across each other, sending coffee across the country to other roasters, friends, family, locally. Drinking some right now.
But even if you're marketing, you're handling the marketing aspect of Pop Coffee. All right, so did you create the name for Pop Coffee?
Actually, that's a great question. So POP stands for pour over perfection, POP.
Okay. I figured it
So
was like the sound you make when your coffee turns on. It just makes that pop noise. You're like, oh,
it does
shit.
pop. The word pop, it's a keyword. It's a hot word. I don't know, any way you want to put it. There's that, but we had to be a little careful. There are a few other Pop Coffee Co. or whatever. We're Pop Coffee Roasters.
The roasters makes it sound more professional. I like it.
And we're focusing on custom roasting and e-commerce, with my experience bringing that over in the e-commerce realm. We're not opening a coffee shop yet, but that's not like our path. Our path is actually to help you at home perfect the perfect pour over, quote unquote. So what we'll be doing is developing a pour over kit, welcome kit for people to get rid of the stigma of third wave coffee shops, help you be more in the know about ordering pour overs when you are in the coffee shops, as well as being able to make that pour over magic happen at home.
And have a good, nice specialty brew at home as well, too. When you have the ability to
Exactly.
do it yourself, you enjoy it a little bit more, too. It tastes a little bit richer. Me, a coffee guy, obviously, I drink coffee all day. So it's like, it doesn't matter if it's Folgers. It doesn't matter if it's this. I'm not into Starbucks. I used to be when I very first started drinking coffee back in high school, but that's a milkshake now. You want to talk about a coffee stigma? If you want a milkshake or something, you go to Starbucks. But
So the sugary coffee shops, like I'd say Big B's also in that realm. They're no offense, Big B, but
I
they're a
mean,
Michigan brand.
I get it. I mean, I like my coffee not to taste like coffee. I'll pour a little bit of syrup or something inside of it. But when it comes to something like I, having a nice coffee brew, I never really understood specialty coffee until recently. When you get
Okay.
like a nice, maybe like $15 for a small bag of coffee is a lot of money. But
Oh yeah.
when you pour it in and then you're getting it and you're able to drink it straight out of the pot without adding anything into it, that is pretty damn
Yeah.
awesome.
That's what I'm doing right now. This was a single cup pour over I made. I measured the beans, 10 grams of beans in this. I know how much water was in it. I know what temperature the water was. I know exactly scientifically how to make the magic happen every time. And I want to help people do that. I might be OCD about, my, coffee, but that's just from experience. But people ask me, even before I started doing this, people were, they recognized, and I did actually, I guess to back up, I have a business that I don't really need to discuss here, but it's a wine business. So I was working in the barrels and stuff in the wine industry, and they're also really picky. So I started to like kind of get a palate for wine. But personally, I don't want to be drinking alcohol as part of my job.
Yeah.
It's just, so coffee was my other thing that I guess I have a good palate. And I was always told that I could pick up, I was really good at talking to the baristas. And
So what do you usually notice when you drink a coffee? What's the first thing? It seems like everyone kind of like they get hit with that sugar rush when they walk into Starbucks. Honestly, if you want to talk about
nah, yeah.
stigmas with a coffee shop, the
Mhm.
stigma would have to probably be the fact that it's not really comfortable. I know always people talk about like comedians or actors, and I know people that write and they'll sit down in a coffee shop because it does put you in that ambiance to write. But
Well,
also
there's a
there's
background noise, yeah,
yeah, but
and the
there's people freaking on their Bluetooth. There's people just doing, whatever.
2020 coffee shop.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's not engageable. You know what I mean? It's not something that is fun to sit in line and wait. And then you're sitting there like, can I get a triple Fritz Bravo cappuccino with an espresso pump? And they're like, what else do you want? You're like, what do you mean? What else do I want? They're like, what else do you want? We have biscuits. Would you like a Michael Jackson CD? I'm like, well, shit, I don't know. Can I order like a blanket?
I love how you put that. That's so right. And that's what we're trying to help people feel a little less awkward about, I guess. And thus, we'll be doing our own YouTube and podcast down the line here with information on different extraction methods. A section called Barista Horror Stories, where we interview different baristas about some of the crazy shit they deal with. Also, I really think that you're right. When you walk in there, Starbucks makes it really, it's a mouthful. Like, not even with the only thing I order at Starbucks is a vanilla latte, but it's, can I have a grande vanilla latte, and, with an extra shot, and, what else? You got all this food. One of my favorite coffee shops here, all they serve is cheesecake and coffee. Like, it's called Dessert Oasis. Shout out. But that's a cool model. They changed, they're like, we're not going to do sandwiches. Let's make it simpler. So I think people are starting to realize that it's really annoying.
What do you typically try and put into your coffee to make it different from all the others? Now we could talk about marketing.
We try to make it authentic. Is less gimmicks, the better.
Well, let's talk about a little bit on the marketing side, since you handle more of the look of it, the more of the aesthetic appeal to it. Do you notice that when it comes to advertising, when you're selling a product, the main thing stands out about it is what it looks like, what grabs people's attention? Such as like a hot sauce company will put on like the flaming black death and they'll have skulls all over it. Where it's like, oh, this looks hot. And then you'll try it. And then when it comes to a coffee, though, we got like.
See, that's the thing. You got to back it up with coffee.
The more basic, the better.
Too. Yeah. So we went with our debut blend as a Colombia organic blend, or not a blend, but it's a Colombia that's from the region Tolima. So we're doing all single origins. But I wanted to make it, and our mission to make a really well-rounded coffee. So you can make ours into cold brew. You can make this Colombia into any type, whether you want to do a French press, pour over, Chemex, just a drip, whatever. You can probably, we've done espresso out of it. It's perfect. But you got to know what you're doing. And so we're on a path to, your average Joe likes our coffee, but also the connoisseur. So that's kind of where we came in, trying to not make it too fancy. The price point is a little high. Marketing wise, I did go say, I know packaging because of my background with the Rain Barrel company.
You kept it blank, and that's probably one of the most things that's going to attract someone to your thing, which is a good idea, because if you have a name like Pop Coffee, first of all, the name is everything. I know people like, I know it means like pour over, perfection. Doesn't matter. When you shorten it like that, they hear the word pop, they're going to think what I thought when it's like pop to the coffee, like pop right in your brain.
It's all about marketing is a lot about getting in people's heads.
And then having like kind of the basic black bag, it's not too flashy. I mean, I know some of the best coffee brands. There's one I ordered from Japan that you couldn't even read the label. I couldn't tell you what it was. I could tell you the symbols that they look like. I could draw them out, but it came in a black, and then the lettering was in red. And I was like, well, this is going to be good, dude. The amount of caffeine that's in that is 800 milligrams, I think, but between each, I think, cup. So it's like drinking jet fuel. It definitely smells like the house is on fire when you brew it up. But I mean, it's good. Like, I'm an ADHD guy, so I don't have caffeine doesn't hit me like that. I drink coffee for the taste, and mostly because it's warm. I mean, it's like 30 degrees outside. I'm like, yeah, all right, I want something that's going to warm me up, not freeze me down.
That's right. No, I understand here. Same. So I drink coffee. I'm not ADD that bad, but if I drink too much coffee, I kind of get that way. You can't shut me up. Right now I'm only on my third little cup. So
I think I've had a pot, and I went right to bed afterwards, and then I woke up, and that's when we got into the meeting.
Let's talk about that for a second. Coffee naps are really cool. So you can look this up. You can Google this.
This is like lucid dreaming. What are we talking about here?
Yeah. So apparently, if you drink a single cup of coffee and you immediately take a nap, for a half hour and then wake up, you'll be actually more awake because that caffeine hits your bloodstream in your sleep. And then when you wake up, you're more awake than if you had just drank that cup of coffee alone. It's a way to make your coffee even work for you more if you can afford to drink a cup of coffee in the morning and then fall back asleep for a half hour. It's
I
called coffee
must
nap.
I must be healthy as shit with all the coffee naps I take. I remember me and my cousin we used to have this
It's a thing, yeah.
he used to live with me, and we used to have this thing over the summer. It was like he gets home from like bartending and stuff at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So he just brew up a full batch of coffee or something. And I'm always up getting up at like 2 a.m. to go work out or something. So we're basically playing coffee tag. You know, there's always someone brewing coffee. We just go downstairs, grab a pot. It was constantly me and him were drinking coffee like crazy. And we just take naps right afterwards. Like my mom would be like, I don't know how you guys do it. Like if I drink a coffee, like I'm up all day. I only can have one in the morning. And me and him are just like we drink a pot, go right to bed right afterwards.
And that's a good point. It hits everyone different. It hits mom different than you and me, you know.
So who are you targeting with your audience then?
Well, that's again why we tried to make a well-rounded one. You know, it's not like too heavy on the caffeine. But down the road, we're gonna be doing, I think, about 3 or 4 at a time. Just launching the business about in the last. I think I started about not even 6 months. We've been doing this for like 5 months now.
Do you just have the basic like brand, like one flavor? You don't really have any other
Yeah, like
types?
right now, yeah, we're doing the Columbia. We got a lot of it, so but we picked
Shoot
the
me
right
some of
one
your
because it's getting
ideas.
great. Yeah, for different types of coffee we're
Yeah,
working
you
on.
gotta figure out the
Yeah.
audience, man. Even though like this one's just the start, you should be
Oh
you should be
yeah.
thinking about like, all right, we gotta make sure we got grandma who has a heart condition. She has a pacemaker, so let's make sure we're giving her a low brand version of it, just to make sure she's not wired all night.
Yeah. So I guess what ours is kind of so with coffee, there's your light, your medium, and your dark roasts. Really, there's French roast, there's full city, there's espresso roast, blah blah blah. But light roasts actually have more caffeine in them. Just so you know, light doesn't mean less caffeine. It means more because the more you roast your coffee, the more caffeine you roast out of it. So decaf is heavily roasted and comes from a separate bean. So eventually we'll have a decaf or grandma. That's for sure. But you have to buy a whole separate lot of decaf beans, green raw beans, and then you have to roast them a specific way to make it decaf. So it's a process. And there's still a trace amount of caffeine in decaf, everybody. Just so
Yeah,
you
it's a
know.
small amount, but I can. It's weird though because you can tell the caffeine difference because if you drink a regular coffee, there's something when you drink it, it makes your stomach a little bit like I guess more like bloated a little bit. It's like it's a little bit harder on the stomach. But if you drink a nice decaf coffee, it's so much smoother.
Well, yeah, there is a certain amount of you're feeling caffeine, through your stomach, absorption through your intestine or whatever. But I also think some of that has to do with the acidity of your coffee. And so ours is a very low, almost no acidity type of coffee that's, like I was telling you, really well rounded. So um, basically, that's one of the musts that I was very persistent about with Jordan. We have to roast this so that I'm drinking black coffee only. Our coffee drinks smooth. It doesn't give you any bloating feeling. It hits your palate effortlessly. And that's basically what, no matter what origin we choose, is what is the must. If the coffee doesn't drink that way, then I'm not selling it. That's what I told him.
How do you get a coffee like that though? Do you just choose it on the basis of the bean?
Okay, yeah. So I mean, you can roll a turd in gold flakes and it's still a turd.
Yeah.
So yes, at the end result, I have a lot to do with sourcing and picking the beans, specifically researching that. Eventually, I hope to be able to do origin trips where we go and travel to farms in different coffee regions close to the equator. Coffee only grows close to the equator in just higher elevations. So that's why it's a process getting it to Americas,
Yeah.
and in
There's a
general.
specific line named after it.
Yeah.
It's
So
called the
I'm
coffee
trying
belt. The coffee belt.
the belt.
Yep.
I'm basically trying to, I get involved in that side of it, but the magic as far as the roasting, that's not my department. So I don't know exactly the scientific. I stand right now by the side when we roast, and I'm, I guess, more like learning But he's a magician. I tell him he's a genius. He's got the knack for it. You're talented. And talking to roasters who are 40, 50 years old, and they're just like, this 22-year-old kid is just killing it. I don't know what to say. And I'm like, that's my partner.
Well, even when
So,
you decide to branch off and do your own thing, like, make a product like coffee, usually you have a bad experience behind it. So what's your worst coffee experience?
oh yeah.
I've had the occasional one, like walking into Starbucks or something, somebody's on a Bluetooth, I'll rip it out of your ear. But my cousin, this is where I learned that coffee beans really can mess up a fucking filter.
Hmm.
He brewed, he dumped like a shit, like almost half a pot or whatever of just coffee in a filter. And then he puts the thing in and starts brewing it. And I'm smelling it. I'm like, it smells like diesel fuel or something. So I go down and grab a cup. I put it in mine. And as soon as I take a sip of it, nothing but coffee grounds. I'm like, yeah, you ruined it. And we figured out that the amount of beans that you put into the filter, you got to make sure, like, it depends on the coffee brand. If it's a harder, darker roast, you got to use less than you got to use if you use a lighter roast.
And the grind, the coarseness of your grind. So these are things that we are going to discuss to help people understand, because it's trial by error, and you waste a lot of coffee and you have a lot of bad pots, and some people don't want to waste them and they end up drinking them. And I was I was over at my friend's house, and she likes to do the French press, and it was I can't do that with personally. I don't like that at the bottom. I use paper filters. I know that as running one sustainable company and then running a coffee business, but preferring paper filters is kind of weird to me. However, they don't let any sediment through. You know, all the reusable filters, they just don't work. So that's one of actually the reasons why I love pour overs, and Chemex in general are my favorite extraction methods. I don't know why, I got really sick of reusable filters. Now they got the ones that are like copper, and you'll never have to buy another filter. Yeah,
I got a washable one, but even that's a pain in the ass.
that's what I'm saying. So, whether it's a Keurig, which I also don't like for other reasons, but one of them is, not waste for the K cups that they create, but also, the paper filters are biodegradable,
Plus, they're
where
like
a K cup
50
isn't.
fucking dollars a K cup, man.
Yeah, you're spending so much money you don't need to. With the $15 bag of Artisan coffee and the right knowledge, you're going to actually be spending a lot less than Keurigs. I actually have my lawyer, shout out to Zupak Law. He sells our coffee. They have a yoga studio in the basement of their law offices. It's really cool. So they have a kitchen there where we'll be doing our YouTube show, and now they sell our coffee. And he had a big Keurig right there when we walked in. I was like, dude, if you want to collaborate with me, this has to go. And he's like, no, it's so easy. Everybody loves it, blah, blah. I'm like, nobody loves it.
It's okay. It's simple in the effect that anywhere you go, like if you're going to a car place, they'll have a Keurig machine out because you can just take that
That's
little
the
cup and you
waiting
can
room.
put it
Yeah.
there. But it's if you're at home, yeah, I get it. Put it in and it'll brew it for you. But the only thing I could use a Keurig for was to make ramen. I figured out that was a really simple way to make ramen.
So that's that's pretty cool. And I ate a lot of ramen. So interesting. Basically, he got rid of it. Actually, it took about 2 days because I showed him how to make a pour over, and then next thing you know, he bought a Chemex so he can make for a group of people. And it's more personal. You're making someone a cup of coffee instead of a robot just putting on some brown gunk. So
Well, I think one of the biggest
mhm.
problems in the coffee industry in general is how it does get a rep for something that, to brew it up quick. I don't know how many times I used to wake up to
Convenience. Mhm.
my grandfather freaking brewing coffee at 4 o'clock in the morning before he went to his shift at the hospital. He would put everything in, get everything set up, hit the start button. The next thing you know, he's walking around the house doing stuff, getting ready. And then by the time he goes, grabs just a straight cup, black. That's how I first drank it, was like that. And then
Yeah.
I started figuring out things to put in it that makes it taste a little bit like not like coffee.
Yeah.
But there's a point to going to extreme with it too. If you start dumping way too much in there, which I'm at fault at times for doing myself. If I brew a really hard coffee, I'm like, damn, this tastes really, really like overpowered with just black coffee. So I'm like, let me dump a little bit of
So
caramel.
that's
Let
the
me dump
roast
something in
too.
there. Yeah.
Those got to be darker roasts. Which, okay, so actually this brings up something I wanted to mention, is that our thing, what sets us apart. So we're going to empower our customers through education, different extraction methods, all of the stuff we've discussed. However, the light roast, the medium roast, and the dark roast. So dark roasts sell. They're easier to standardize and they sell well to the
They're
older
cheap as shit
generation.
too, compared to everything
That's
else.
because you can kind of just throw beans that might not be perfect in there and kind of make them taste that way. That's what you're tasting. So we're not doing that. So what we're doing is we're focusing on medium only, but bringing over some knowledge I had from that wine industry experiences in the years working in that industry. They do this thing with the barrels where they toast them the different levels. They do a medium and a medium plus. So I decided we're not going to do dark. We're not going to do light. We're going to do like medium, light, medium, and medium plus as our 3 tiers of roast levels. So we're going to get more accurate in the medium range so that they'll all be low acidity, low bitterness, no bitterness, easy drinking, easy on the stomach, no bloating like that or anything. No gross, gritty coffee taste like that. It's dark. Just maybe one that's slightly darker than medium, one that's slightly lighter than medium, but they're going to be a much finer grading there.
There's going to be a tangible difference.
Yes, there'll be enough of a difference that you'll see it on the beans, and if you drank our regular house, let's call it, or our Columbia, let's call it for now, then, from there, like we'll make sure that, there'll be a rating system, but it's going to be much more unique, I guess, in coffee. It's something that hasn't really been done. And that, to me, will help people mentally like understand like that they want medium roasts, even if they have a little bit of a preference for a slightly darker or slightly lighter medium. It's not like ordering a French roast or an Italian roast or full city, because those are darker and those are gonna kind of have that. To me, it's gross.
Yeah, well, even going through all the research and stuff, like how do you come across it? Are you just looking up facts about coffee? Are you going out and experiencing different coffee shops? I mean, if you see, the problem here when we start talking about this is the fact is there's always going to be the main coffee brand. Starbucks solidified it, even though they're now turning into a fucking milkshake place. But
Right.
the fact is, Folgers, Maxwell House, all these giant
Yep.
brands, coffees that crank it out so bad, and it's cheap and it's affordable, makes it a little harder when you're trying to start a coffee business, because it's like, fuck, I have a better product, but you won't buy it because the name's not that known.
Yeah. And no, and that's the thing. And it's not even with the name, it's also the product too, because it's a niche product. You're trying to cater to a niche group of people. But see, that's where it's expanding. And that's why it's a great time for Pop Coffee to have got involved, because the knowledge is power. So I basically, like I said, want to empower through education. And with both my businesses, that's like something I realized that, people were willing, to pay. They're going to pay for coffee either way. They're going to buy a product either way. But if you give them a little bit of information with that purchase, then it's like added value, and people really respond well to that. And then they actually like they become repeat buyers.
Plus, when you
Um,
create a more relatable experience with your audience too. I don't know how many coffee shops or, when you have that personal connection with someone, even when you own a business. I know so many people that'll send you like sauces, they'll send you food, they'll send you items from their shop. That's why food trucks do so well, because, they're connected with the people that they're feeding.
that's right. Making that connection. My grandfather, who was an entrepreneur as well, he uh, always said buying is a habit. You know, plain and simple, buying is a habit. So at least with coffee, people are addicted to caffeine. But no, I think that people can get their caffeine anywhere. You know, that's not what keeps people coming back. It's not the packaging solely, and it's not even the information solely, but it is the product. And you do need to stick to the core product, no matter what your business is.
Well, you
For
brought
me,
up a
it's
good point, though. You brought up a point,
mhm,
caffeine, that whole thing. Coffee is always going to be needed. But the fact is, we're living in a world now. Where do you see that kind of ending up with the fact that everyone's trying to live this healthy lifestyle? It's been supported that coffee is supposed to be beneficial, has many metabolic effects, speeding up your metabolism, waking you
oh
up,
yeah,
helping you get your start of the day. A lot of that is very, very small evidence. It's not exactly true, but it's enough that you can be like, okay, that makes sense. There's not a whole lot of studies done behind that. But when it goes to the fact of Now we're seeing things that are coming up with, now we're living in a more health crisis area because people have been treating their bodies like shit for so long that
Right.
they're starting to develop certain diseases, and that's becoming more prominent now, such as diabetes and all these things.
Oh yeah.
Coffee affects so many different things when it comes to that aspect, such as acid reflux, such as digestive issues, such as, it's a stimulant, but that's like that with any stimulant. It's why smoking is getting looked at again. It's why so many different things are getting changed. It's just kind of a fear for you, only with trying to sell a specialty brew coffee.
Yeah, so that's as someone who lives a healthy lifestyle, who used to not be the healthiest. I spent a lot of my 20s partying. I'm 32 now, so I was a little worried about that. But honestly, now that I live a very healthy lifestyle and how coffee fits into that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It can, if you're, it's like anything else, if you're sourcing pop coffee or someone comparable to us, that takes time and dedication to their craft, you're going to be drinking superior beans, you're going to be drinking handcrafted coffee, um, which a lot of people, I don't know, like, you're putting it in your body. It's like, I quit smoking cigarettes, on and off. It's a hard thing to do, but I've finally done it. But
Well, it's
with now you got vapes. People are, is a vape healthier than smoking? People are still debating it. We don't know. It's about balance. It's about moderation. Is what I guess.
the thing is, nothing is healthy for you. Sadly, everyone likes to think that, oh, if I eat a cucumber, you can go, okay. Well, I've known so many cases now where people are talking about like eating celery helps you lose weight. It's going to make you healthier. Okay. Well, there's about probably a few hundred people in the world that have probably died on a stick of celery. But when it comes to the factor is like, you want to look at coffee. Um, it is beneficial. I mean, every workout page, anything that wants to give you inspiration, what's the first thing they suggest 20 minutes before a workout? They suggest a coffee. Okay, then what's the difference of that
I
between an
love the
energy
post
drink?
workout coffee too, man. I don't
Yeah.
know. It's weird. I don't know. It did it yesterday. I worked out and then I grabbed a coffee and at actually God forsaken Starbucks, but I got a grande vanilla latte. However, it was the only coffee shop in like 20 miles from where I was working out. So I even guiltily will go to the bus. I think all of us do.
Well, we're all trying to figure it out in this world, man. The factor is there's so many different things, and each person is uniquely different. I can tell you that me drinking a coffee or a giant pot of coffee just for breakfast or something wouldn't hurt me, but for someone else, that's going to be too harsh on them, or they could experience severe stomach issues. They could be in a severe amount of pain. But then we look at so many different things that are different. It's all unique to that person's genetics, everything that goes down to the play of it. So what's healthy is what works for you. Obviously it's not good to eat fast food every single day, but I can tell you from a workout perspective, there are times I would go in on a workout. Coffee is a stimulant for it. Coffee helps wakes me up before I
It's a great
go,
way to
helps.
get get the brain juices flowing, get your heart pumping, get the blood flowing. Coffee has a lot of, tea. I drink tea as well. I think we might eventually do that as an
That's what it's
alternative for
breaking off
people.
into. You're seeing a lot of
Yeah,
people fighting with the coffee and the tea aspect. A bunch of people are like, "Well, coffee's so high stimulant for you. Why don't you drink a nice herbal chamomile tea?" I'm like,
and there's some teas that jack you up too, though. Like people
there
don't
are fucking
know.
tea is honestly, in my opinion, tea is terrible unless it's cold. I don't like a hot tea. I don't like a hot green tea. I tried to do it for like, oh, apparently there's health benefits if you have a tea instead of coffee. And I tried it. I was like, I'd rather just stick to a coffee, something that's gonna put hair on my peaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it's tried and true. So coffee's been around, I want to say the last 500 years or so, if I remember. And tea, I mean, tea is ancient in a lot of ways, so I think neither's going anywhere. And some people I've rumored coffee is, because of health reasons, like you were saying, is it healthy? Isn't, it isn't. I mean, shit, I think that in California, they tried to say that like because of the pesticides now, that's a whole issue with, products from vape cartridges to coffee to food at the grocery store, you're talking about pesticides in it.
You
And
want to
that,
you want to know the thing I give people that say vapes are bad, especially of
Mhm.
older age that are talking about all this stuff. I always go, you grew up in like the 70s, right? And like the 80s kind of with that punk rock era. And they're like, yeah, like I went to these concerts all the time. I went to go see Skinner. I went to go see Aerosmith. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what you were spraying on your head a whole entire can of it all in one day, that's hairspray. And guess what? You know what that used to cause? Sticky lungs. So come at me.
Yeah, no, I read a book recently about Flint's water crisis. Water conservation is really important to me. Running a rain barrel company. So, but they were talking about lead in gasoline. And you know how it says unleaded gasoline? Lead was taken out of gas. It was still in gasoline until 1998.
I did not know that.
Yeah, lead is not naturally occurring in gasoline. It was added by, uh, you know, big corporations to stop that knocking noise in the engine in like the 60s, I believe. So every gas station attendant from the 60s until like the early 2000s was exposed to heavy amounts of lead, causing like irreparable DNA damage to their genetics and their children and their
Wow.
children's children. It
And
doesn't
it
get out of your DNA.
brings up the thing of fracking too. See, when people like
Yeah.
I learned this about organic food. I started looking at organic food. It turns out they just have a small number of GMOs compared to the original food. It's not exactly GMO free. I kind of came to this conclusion because I went to my like local farmers market and they had I swear to you, a 3-pound apple. I looked at that, I was like, "There's no fucking apple in the world that grows like that." And I looked at it and it's like organic. And I'm like, "What's really in this?" I actually looked up the brand and went down into research. And they actually use a thing inside of the plant when they they inject it with something or put some chemical or some pesticide on it that helps these things grow bigger with some type of hormone. And I'm like, are you injecting it with bull testosterone? Like this thing is fucking huge, like the size of my fist. And they charge apples by the pound. So I paid like $4 for a fucking apple. I'm like, oh my God. But what you're putting into your body, it's much like with your car. I had the best advice from my bodybuilding manager at my gym. He goes, because I can't eat red meats well. I can't eat, a lot of things that I haven't had. I've been eating clean for so long that if I eat like a steak, I won't go to the bathroom for like 2 or 3 days.
Oh wow.
So I was telling him, I was like, dude, I ate a burger and it's like my first burger in a while. And it's good, but it's like I can't go to the bathroom. It's been like a week. And he goes, Robbie, think of your car or think of your body like a car, like a Corvette.
Mhm.
He goes,
Yeah.
you've been feeding it such clean gas all the time, and then you just threw diesel into it. It's not gonna run well. It's not gonna do right. But that's exactly what we got to look at with our bodies too.
That's right. That's
So
crazy.
when it comes to that whole aspect of it, how do you choose the correct bean? How did you come to the conclusion of what you were going to work with to make your coffee?
Yeah. So, a lot of it was what I don't like, I guess, as far as, being a nerd, being a coffee nerd, and traveling to and, going to shops and trying, really uber expensive roasts that, a lot of average coffee drinkers wouldn't do, having a palate. And just taking it slow when you're trying new beans, not just slugging coffee, but like absorbing it. And I like to say absorbing it, understanding it when you drink it. It's a lifestyle. So I took that knowledge and that diligence, started taking notes, started doing research, started trying different coffees. Just really immersed myself in it. Then decided, what is something that appeals to the masses. And I realized that basically what your favorite coffee in the world is Colombia. So that's why we got that into the debut one, because it'll appeal to someone who doesn't know a lot about coffee. At the same time, you can do it really proper and appeal to the connoisseurs and the people who do know a lot about coffee. It lets you bridge that gap. Organic, because people concerned about their health. And
You're coming at it from more of a marketing aspect rather than, you're trying to blend in with the common people. Hashtag blend with a coffee reference. But when it comes to,
yeah,
you're trying to find someone that's willing to take a new try into something else, but you're more about going onto the
that's right.
common ground to appease everybody. See, if you throw Colombia, you throw Arabica immediately on your coffee brand, everybody's going to be like, oh, I know what that's like. I've had that before. And they're going to try it. And then it's going to be something different where they're like, oh, shit. This one is a little bit different than the usual Colombia or Arabica that I get. You're applying to that common ground that people already know what it is. They know what it tastes like, so they're not going to risk anything.
Yep. So you said a word there that so Arabica is a strain of coffee based. So that's like 80% of all of the coffee in the world. So there's like there's a coffee tree diagram out there if you Google that, and it shows you all these Arabica beans. It's like a big family tree of coffee, and most of the coffee that we know, almost all of it, is Arabica, which isn't really tell you a lot about where it's actually from, which is what separates, Dunkin' Donuts, Tim Hortons, Folgers versus single origin third wave coffee. So that word actually has a stigma on it, which it is well understood on one end by your average consumer because like, oh, I know what that is, but they don't really know what that is. So that's kind of stuff that we're going to help explain. And so the Colombia is an Arabica because everything pretty much in that coffee belt there is, but there, there's some really weird ones that are, totally funkier coffee, we'll call them, that aren't often brewed or sold because they're expensive and rare. But that's, like I said, not the majority, and most people wouldn't even really understand any of this. But Colombia, like you're right, you hit the nail on the head with that was my marketing, where I was coming from with the whole thing as an entrepreneur. I was like, well, I want, I actually, for example, here, I was at the coffee shop right here, the Red Hook, and they, these construction or these dudes doing a rehab on one of these nice old houses here downtown Detroit. He, walked in and he's, oh, let me get that pour over, and I'm gonna get this one, and his buddy got a different one, and like I could tell these guys knew nothing about coffee at all, but they ordered pour overs and they paid $4 for their pour over and waited in line, and then as soon as he got it, oh yeah, you can just look at this and tell that it's better. And I'm like, it's a cup of coffee. You can't look at it and tell anything. It's brown liquid in a cup. It's not so, but in his head, he's been hearing, maybe his son or his daughter or whatever, his Instagram or Facebook, someone said, you got to try pour overs, He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to order. He was faking it until he makes it, which I can relate to. And a lot of us can, but I would love that guy. I would love to help is what I said. I would love to help that guy understand coffee more so that when he comes up to the front and orders, he doesn't waste his time, waste his money, and feel so different, even though he's dressed totally different with paint all over him and big steel-toed boots, and everybody else in here is a hipster with, AirPods, and laptop, listening to New Order. At the same point, I want to be able to connect these people who might come from different worlds over a cup of coffee.
Yeah, that's the kind of the whole point, like why I even started the podcast. I always lead it off with it's just like two people having a coffee and deciding to chat, because that's where real
Totally.
conversation was. That gets taken out when you look at a Starbucks.
That's
when you look at-
authentic.
yeah, it's not, you don't ever want to sit down and have a full on intimate conversation with someone over a coffee when you're in a Starbucks. You can get that at home, or two people can sit down and, talk about their day before it starts, or, what they plan on doing, what they're trying to accomplish, how their week's been. I have many moments where it's like, hey, just want to go downstairs and have a cup of coffee. It's like, yeah, let's enjoy a cup of coffee. And it's a weird thing where it kind of like wakes you up, but it also helps you stay in tune with what's going on around you. And
I'd agree.
it
Sure.
makes it like, just with coffee in general, like, are you trying to turn this into a business? Are you trying to not like, I mean, yeah, by selling it, but are you going to own your own coffee shop where you can help somebody get that information and help someone choose what type of coffee?
We've been talking about doing that. That's like a longer term thing. I have a few friends who work in, that's not where I'm not a barista by background, but I am a business owner. A brick and mortar is something that, it's 2020, so it's like kind of like not as essential as it once was now. But we are like relocating the location where we actually work from. So, it's an idea. Opening a cafe has a lot of things that takes you away from roasting, though. So I don't think it's something that we want to do until we really flesh out our roasting program. So, but if we go right now, we use multiple different roasters from different coffee shops around here that we have connections with. So it's pretty awesome right now. But when we make a permanent, we buy our own roaster. That's kind of thing where you could put it in the back of a coffee shop or something like that.
So if I had to ask you, what's your slogan? You got to have something catchy to bring in those people to get your coffee. You got the name, you got the look. What about what's that phrase? What's that thing? The ShamWow's got, wow, or Gordon Ramsay, just screaming at people. He's known for that. What is your coffee? How are they going to catch and bring in the customer?
Well,
It's pop coffee. So it's
I
about to
think
pop off. That's what you got to
yeah,
say.
that's kind of where we're coming from with just naming it pop coffee. Like it's this shit's gonna pop, you know. I guess I'll give you a little secret that because of the skateboarding background, there was a company back in the day called Shorties, and their slogan was "This shit's got pop." And to me, as a skateboarder, when you pop an ollie or you pop your trick, you're popping, or like you're talking about going out, this shit's, tonight it's about to pop, it's gonna pop off. There's pop art. We were, it's like so part of it was that. That's why I named it that. But the pour over perfection, or the path to perfect the perfect pour over at home and debunk the third wave coffee shop stigma together, I guess would be our mission statement. So it gets technical, but at its face value, it's supposed to be fun.
Now, even working with your kind of partner in a way too, is this something it's more like starting a company with kind of like a friend in a way where it makes it fun, it makes it enjoyable, and you guys kind of bounce ideas off each other. You guys find that you have a good kind of flow.
Oh yeah. So long story short, we were friends. That I met him, and he was my barista at a coffee shop in a different city that I lived. And then I moved, and he happened to take a job in downtown Detroit. So he's like my barista followed me, and my friend came downtown. So we just started hanging out more, and to the point where I needed help with my other business, with my grain barrel, with the sustainable company I'm running. So we started working together, where he was actually my employee. Uh, and he's still doing this. He still helps on both. So we kind of work together on both businesses, however, in different capacities. And then we actually invested in the LLC for Pop Coffee 50/50, 100% there. So like that's a true collaboration there, where my rain barrel is solely me. So but he helps me with both, one as an employee and one as my partner. So we do work together really well. And this is I could tell that he wanted to live. He doesn't want to live off tips forever. He doesn't want. Jordan's not trying to be a barista.
But he doesn't want to own his own company. I think that's with a lot of people too that decide to do a side business. There's someone that wants to do all the marketing behind it, and then you got someone that's more wants to be involved with things as well. I think that combination is perfect.
And it also helps that he is also a very, being a barista, you have to be in front of people a lot, and you got to have some people skills. So he also is very good at the networking side of things, where we both have some overlapping strengths that make us kind of a powerful duo. And I think that he does bring more to the table than, I break it down, like I do the marketing, he does the roasting, but like he does a lot of networking, I do a lot of networking. But yeah, I do the business more entrepreneurial side of it. This is on the craft, but we're both invested in each side, and it's a great synergy between. I couldn't ask for a better partner overall.
Would you say that kind of branching off into this and doing this, even maybe having a second thought on it, do you still kind of feel like you got hope for this? Like you want to be able to, it's just comfortable. I think with a lot of entrepreneur people, like after month one, month two, they expect immediate progress, but you have the mindset, much like myself, where it's like, it's going to be a slow burn. It's going to be something, it's a slow roast, we'll call it. It's a slow roast.
That's yeah, no, it is. Patience is key. With all of this, no one owes you anything. Um, and you're only going to get what you put in. You're only going to get out what you put in, but you're not even guaranteed that. It's something that you have to love what you do, even on those days where it just completely sucks, and it's hopeless. That's the roller coaster of being an entrepreneur, and knowing how to turn it off, and knowing how to come home and not necessarily be on your email all night. You're never going to have like a good relationship. You're gonna, I guess That's one thing my father taught me that is really good. He taught me that you need to learn how to like walk in the door and leave work behind you, and it's hard. I'm sitting here at my kitchen table and my computer set up, and like I could work all night, but every night. But being a workaholic isn't cool. but but believing in yourself and going for it and being passionate about what you do is. So there's a fine line.
You got to have fun, and anything that's worth pursuing is never easy, I would say. There are times there's times I'd want to give up. There's times I don't want to do shit, but if you once you push yourself to get through the door and keep on going with it, the benefit you get from that of overcoming something, whether it's in the gym, whether it's just in life in general, you're going to see a way better burn off effect or after effect from it.
That's right. No, you're onto something there. That attitude you got to keep. That kind of separates those who you know make things work, and those who give up.
Exactly. And I really appreciate you, Josh, for coming out and doing the podcast, man. I want to give you here a minute at the end to kind of promote your site, promote your Instagram, where people can find your coffee. Probably are going to hit you up for some samples. If you're giving them out, people are going to want. It's like Sam's Club, when they're giving out those fucking samples, you come around the corner after you eat one.
If you're on our Facebook or our Instagram, Pop Coffee Roasters, we're on both. You can just DM me, and we'll send samples out. That's a thing right now for sure that we're doing, for especially for shops, and businesses that want to maybe eventually order more, but also on an individual level, just a home, anyone, just drop us your address, we'll send you out a sample bag. For you, I totally want to get you plugged up. I want to get you some bags, get you on the Pop Coffee
Can you
wagon.
change my mind on the Folgers that I drink?
Oh yeah, I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised with how much your stomach will thank you. Also, just so between just so you know, the pesticides, with the organic versus non-organic, you'll notice a huge difference there too. And pesticides are like, they don't like that lead we were talking. They might stay in you for a long time. They don't
Make a
get out.
coffee
So
that doesn't make me feel like my stomach's gonna explode because I have IBS. So when it comes to having a nice coffee, it's got to be
I think
right.
you like the Columbia. It's very gentle. I honestly, I got my 68-year-old, dad, and my, honestly, my 10-year-old daughter likes it too.
Look,
Kids,
let
kids
me
like
tell you
coffee.
something.
It's weird.
Let me tell you something. You might have heard of Bill Cosby where he likes to be tucked into bed and read to sleep, basically. That's the same thing I'm like. I want a coffee that's going to pick me up, carry me to my bed, lay me down, and read me a nice bedtime story.
Hey, I like how you put that. That's really that's interesting. So yeah, no, I honestly think that you will like it. I think everyone will. That was kind of our mission, is like I said, we're trying to bring people together. Coffee, like you said, I mean, how we're right here, right now, you and I, virtually, but also in general, whether it's over, a 6-cup Chemex, and it's like, an episode of Friends. I don't know if you noticed, they always had a Chemex right there.
And they always sat in a coffee shop.
Exactly. So whether it is on a one-to-one level or it's a group, we're trying to get people to dump the Keurigs and do pour overs and enjoy good coffee, enjoy the education that we're giving away for free. You're inspiring me right now to get off my ass and get my YouTube and podcast situation for Pop going, because that was like at the beginning of this, my background was with film school. So, I put that on hold to do these brands and go into marketing more. And now I get to kind of bring it all full circle. And so, yeah, no, I'm really excited about where this is heading. My mirainbarrel has been 10 years of brand identity. This next month will be we're going into our 10th year with that. So it was time to do a new business. I felt I was ready to kind of move on, in a way, not move on, but like grow.
Well, once you switch off into podcasting and doing the YouTube series, hit me up. I'll be more than happy to give a review on some coffee.
Oh yeah, I would love to, dude. That's A, for sure, and B, I'm just gonna also be hitting you up just to pick your brain, because I can tell that you have a lot of good ideas and
a lot of pain and deep-seated emotion blended out with the diesel fuel of coffee.
That's where sometimes You need that motivation. You need to have some pain in order to. You need to be honestly until you're hungry, you won't be an entrepreneur.
You know, I actually have to probably start rethinking giving out my address so openly, because I know we talked about you sending me coffee and I was like, this guy's not going to send me coffee. And then you hit me up with, what's your address and what's your PO box? And I just tossed it out there without even thinking. And then I get in the mail, I get a package from Josh here over at Pop Coffee Roasters, and it's a nice little like envelope. I'm like, it says out of the blank on it. I'm like, I wonder what the mail person was thinking when they, they read that. And then I open it up and there's this note with a bag of coffee inside of it. Now, when we talk about people that actually do what they're going to say, Josh did what he said, and he sent me literally a thing of coffee, and it was so badass too. The note was amazing. I appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of people have been giving me their address online, and so I've been thinking about this. Kind of funny. Yeah, openly, people. I actually, and I'll tell all your listeners, we're basically, trying to just get our name and get get these bags out there across the country, and they're all over now, from coast to coast. But we're, you know, like our page, follow us, leave a comment, wave. I don't care. Facebook, Instagram, just
Well,
something.
you're doing one of the best things I think about a business is the fact that even when one's starting out, the biggest thing you want to rely on is probably social media. Just because we're in a world now where social media, and which we've talked about, is just overcapsulating everything. I mean,
For
if
real.
you're really in touch with your, customers, you're doing a lot of promotion stuff, you're doing a lot of giveaways, you're doing this type of stuff. Everybody wants free shit. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's why we give out our address so freely, because we're so used to going to the store and they're like, what's your email address before you pay for this? It's like, why do you need my email? So I'm just buying grocery. Oh, we're not going to send you anything. We just need one on file. I'm like, wait, why do you need it? I don't know, but I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah, no, and that's actually exactly what we're doing right now. We're giving away free bags of coffee. So anybody that just contacts us on social media, um, just send us your address. Free, do exactly what you're talking about, and I will follow through and do exactly what I'm talking about, which is send you coffee, so that you can tell your friends and family and share a cup with them, make a Chemex, make a pour over, make a French press, whatever you love. Do your thing, but show us some love online, and we'll send you a bag of free coffee right now. It's just happening right now for our debut uh, batch, and we're also offering, if you order, 10% off. You just put in 10 off, 10 off at checkout on our website.
Well, I think you should probably be aiming towards, I'm going to throw this pitch at you, is trying to start maybe a blog. That gives a little bit less of putting you in a hole when it comes to sending a lot of your stuff out,
Mm-hmm.
but it makes it more of an interaction so people can get really what I think people want is an interaction with the person that runs the business.
Well, see, that's where it's created that. So because of this, I've started, messaging with people and, everything. So anything to spark the conversation is where what I guess part of the strategy.
That literally sounds like what I'm trying to do. Anything to start
Yeah.
a conversation. Well, I get so many times I'll message someone that owns a business and we know there's a person that owns the business. So why does it have to always go, I'll have to talk to this, or you can email us this business inquiries and all this shit. It's like, but what if I just want to speak to the guy or speak to whoever that works there and just have a conversation? And they're like, you can email this. I'm like, but I don't want to go through the whole email and a listing process and all this stuff. I like the actual interaction. You get that from a blog. I started noticing it actually is making me want to start up my own.
Yeah. So I've done a few in the past. I kind of got more into the Facebook and the Instagram stuff and try to keep up with that with updates, kind of like a blog. But my history as an entrepreneur for the last decade, yeah, I did blogs for my other businesses. Um, haven't really got back on the horse right now.
We talked about the types of coffee, like what your style is too. The one where it's not too heavy and it's not too light, but it's that just right. And even if you
Yeah.
do go into like the darker shades, it is
Hmm.
still a little bit of the lighter one, so it's easier on your stomach. And I mean, just smelling the bag, usually when you get a thing of coffee and you smell it, it's pretty fucking strong. But this isn't that strong. It's very, very light, but it's very, very good. And
I like to say it's bright, but not too bright. Or it's also clean, versatile. It's a, you know, there's so we're going for medium and medium plus roasts, which is kind of a new terminology that we're
yeah,
throwing out there. We're trying to stay away from dark completely, and also avoid the word light, even though because we're not trying to make light roasts, but there are lighter roasts of in shades of medium.
well, you
So
talked about the cleaner version of it too. That's what you get when you smell this. It's a natural scent. You know, how many times do you smell like a rose or a flower? It's strong, but it's not super strong. And then you get like a candle that's rose or flower, and it's so obnoxiously strong where you can literally feel the chemicals and shit. This, I
yeah,
smell this, I'm like, this is going to be really easy and simple on my stomach. And I mean, that's what I think a lot of people are really going to notice about your coffee as well.
yeah. No, we've got a lot of good feedback about that exact thing. Not bitter. Goes down easy, and people are loving it.
I think you should definitely branch off and make another section to Pop Coffee Roasters when it comes to this just original taste, but make
Hmm.
something with like you were saying before, like a syrup, but make a syrup that's like for a coffee.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah. No,
mean?
I plan to do a bunch of different stuff. All ideas welcome right now. I'm even thinking of an energy drink with the cascara, that fruit on the outside of the bean. We're talking about coming up with kind of like a pre-workout energy thing. Not giving away too much info right now. It's in
That's
development.
perfect too, because a lot of people like cold brew, and this isn't. I mean,
That's that too.
this
Yeah.
this coffee can't really be made as a cold brew. It's got to be a hot because it's a bean. You got to do it that
Well, you can
original
make.
way.
We've made cold brew. It makes cold brew as well. Jordan knows more about that. He's as well as our roaster has experience in coffee shops as manager and barista. So he pretty much knows all the ifs, ands, and buts. So you're gonna have to talk to him about the cold brew. I make it on the Chemex mostly, and V60 is my
Yeah,
favorite.
you make it Walter White style, like you're cooking meth on your stove.
Yeah, well, no, that's the siphon. They have ones that look a lot like the meth lab in Breaking Bad.
Well, it's pretty simple. I just think a lot of people they see
It is.
that, and the fact is, when they see that, they're like, "Oh, this is some science I can't get into." I'm like, it's actually really simple if you just took the. That's what I think you should be more aware for your people. You should let them know, like, "Hey, it's actually
That's actually like our main goal. I'm actually after we're done here, I'm supposed to go over to talk about what we're going to be hosting our show, doing a YouTube channel. So we're gonna have a little show. So because you need the visual as well, I was just gonna like do a podcast or go do YouTube or do both, and I'm like, well, both is like a lot of undertaking, but I'm like, we need to like show people visually also how to make the coffee and the different things. So I think we're gonna do a YouTube show, and that will talk about this.
you're gonna do it like a quick 15-minute or 20-minute one." I feel like that,
Shorter,
yeah,
7-10 minute per episode, maybe.
just a quick process and the lowdown of everything that's going on.
Yeah, well, when we come out with new stuff, reviewing other roasters, other equipment, we have a section I'm developing called Barista Horror Stories, just crazy stuff from all the people we know. We're gonna have people, kind of like what we're doing. We collaborate with people, just a forum to talk coffee.
Yeah. I think I got this crazy idea for a pitch. Have you ever thought about instead of we talk about the basic of the bag, kind of making it plain is kind of the best thing. It's not too
Yeah.
flashy, not too standoff, but the container it comes in instead of like a brown box or something, you should do something that's like one of your barrels. Like one of those like you know how you see a toxic waste barrel or something? Just get that but in black and it says like a small sticker pop coffee roaster.
Yeah, barrel box
And then you
packaging.
could even open up some of the like take some of those beans and put it in there. So it's like packaging peanuts, but it's the beans. So they pour the coffee out of the thing.
I'm not digging the toxic waste connection there. However, I am liking the idea of a cylindrical barrel shaped.
Yeah, don't put a toxic symbol on it. I just remember that my brain connected that because a long time ago
No, I know a lot of people do because
there was a toxic candy that came out back in the day, and it came in a barrel that was looked like a toxic barrel, and then you would pour it out, and they were super sour. I was like, but
yeah,
I saw the coffee. I was like, that would be perfect. You could do a video and everything of you pulling out the coffee out of the thing.
yeah. I wonder. So coffee actually comes in big burlap bags. When you, I don't know if you ever seen like the wholesale side of it, but they're pretty cool too. Um, I want to find a way to.
You could do it like Crown Royal, where they put it in a bag that's all fancy and shit.
Yeah, it's like pretty cool. I have one in the other room. But yeah, like a barrel, custom packaging. Packaging is the name of the game actually nowadays. Like I actually have. Well, everybody's just listening here, but this is a box from another roaster. You can see that's a square, and I just was thinking in my head, inside this box is their coffee, but what if it was like a barrel? Look at that.
Yeah.
So same, close, similar. No, I like our resealable. So with the bags that we chose the resealable bag. I tested a lot of them. That pretty much had the most functionality, as well as being aesthetically pleasing, and durable, tough. Those were, it passed all the tests. So they're a little more pricier than some, and like the one I just showed you, like some people want to go with all biodegradable ones. I'm really more of a fan of things being reused. So you can reuse our bags more because they're durable and they're resealable. So you could, store other coffee more, you could store other food, whatever, they're reusable. So then toss them out after a few uses. That's
I
my,
literally don't even want to open mine. It's on my shelf. It's with the note and everything that you sent me. I was like, damn, this is awesome. It's got to go up in the studio. It's literally, if you can probably see, but it's literally sitting next to a giant Buddha.
oh, hey, Buddha. What's up? Yeah, no, okay, you got a black one. So we did a test with some brown. Here's a good topic. I tested brown craft bags and black ones, and the black ones I think went over better. But some people really like the brown ones, and they just like had a different kind of vibe.
You should
And we
do a
took
lighter
photos.
roast for the brown bags.
That actually, you know what? Maybe we could use different bag. Yeah. So we were just experimenting, but it was funny that it was more of like a psychological experiment. See what people
Well, look, if you look at the hot sauce, you
wanted.
get if you look at the hot sauce, you get a Taco Bell. There's extra
Yeah.
fire, extra spicy, then there's mild. They're two different color sauce packets. That's the same thing you could do with your coffee. You could do a mild, or you could do like a medium or low roast, and then have it in a lighter brown or a lighter black or a gray, and then go for the I guess a medium but darker version of it. You could have the black bag.
Yeah. I think so right now I'm actually developing our logo. So with the packaging you got is a temporary logo too. So you'll be seeing some really slick, and once we create that, I'll send you another bag. Some really slick packaging where the bag itself will be printed. We'll have, like you said, different colors. Not sure where we're going with everything, but we're working on a lot of stuff.
Your logo should be like this, the name of it on top of a coffee mug.
The name of the on top. Yeah, we're doing it. So it's actually the logo is the same that you're looking at, except it won't be like digital. It'll be hand drawn. So my background is, it's just taking me a long time to work on it. That I'm also the marketing. I literally do all my own marketing. I went to Columbia College, Chicago for art school. So shout out to my alma mater. So when it comes to doing things like this, I rarely outsource, and I'll develop it, do it all myself.
Well, it's best to do it
Sometimes it
that way
takes,
too.
but it takes longer than you anticipate. I can whip that up in a week, and then all of a sudden I got to run this business and my rain barrel as well, and my other business. And then by the time, I have a few side hustles here and there. I've been doing eBay stuff. I actually bought a vintage coffee maker and sold it. I got a sewing machine here, vintage Sears, that I'm about to. Was either, I've just been like doing a little resale on the side just for fun. It's just
Well, I think it's best if you're more dependent on yourself than relying on other people. I mean, I know it sounds like a
I just
bad way
get
to live.
bored.
Well, yeah, it's the whole thing though. It's like I know if I fuck up, it's because I fucked up. So like I hold myself accountable for shit. So like if I'm doing
Yeah,
something when it comes to my website getting built or something, I'm like I need to
right.
make sure that I don't go and hire off. I had somebody get hired um for a guest that was on my podcast. She's been telling me for months now that her site's going to finally be up. It's at like 90% and it's been 3 months. I'm like, I'm trying to release the episode. How am I going to do that if it's been so long? And she's like, I know, I'm trying to be on them and get on top of them. Like, I did mine in a day. I did mine literally in like a
Yeah.
few hours. But I mean,
You're a
sometimes people don't
motivated
really have the
person.
time for it. Well, I also don't sleep, so that helps.
That does help. Well, you might need help for that as well.
I went to the
But
doctor's. I was like, I'm an insomniac. He's like, yeah. He goes, I could give you something, but it's probably not going to work. I'm like, yeah, probably not. He's like, so what else you want to work on? I'm like, I don't know. I guess just sit and talk for a little bit.
yeah. Hey man, a good conversation is priceless.
Exactly. And I appreciate you sending me the bag, Josh. And first of all, coming back out here too. I want to stay connected because I want to keep shooting marketing ideas back and forth. I love that whole aspect of it.
That's what I'm about, like this is the coolest venture I've obviously, done because I haven't done it. It's not a complete solo venture. For once, I actually can say that I'm not a complete solo entrepreneur. So up until now, well, 5, 6 months ago when we started this coffee company, I always ran my businesses by myself, and now I got, you know, something going on that's like it's like bigger than myself, and I really, really, really dig it. It's cool,
It's like having a
because
baby and watching it grow.
yeah, the energy's there, the networking, the ability to cover more ground with two people. Here I am talking to you, and Jordan is out there doing his thing, and
Hey, first
together,
podcast you've ever been on.
yeah, definitely. I'm really stoked on it.
A
Thank you
fucking
again for having me on
hell
the
of a
show.
first impression. That's like having your first kid be like completely opposite and hate you. It's like, well, I was not expecting this on my first try.
Right? Yeah, and I have two kids, so I can kind of relate. They're totally different than each
You learn every single time too. Hey, technically you got three because if you have two legitimate kids, then you have the company as well. So bam.
Yeah, that I always do refer to it as a baby. And also, at the stage that we're in, I guess that you refer to a new venture, a new business as you're in your infancy, actually is the term that they would call the first year, usually, I believe. So,
Just like when a first episode of a podcast comes out, it's trying to find the ground level and see where it goes.
hey, man, even every like counts. I always tell people that, like, one thing leads to the next. Since I met you, I've got offered 3 other brew reviews. They have coffee all over the country, in Texas to you're on the East Coast, out to California now. We've been collaborating on Instagram pretty heavily. You know, so I'm pretty excited about being. People are really hyped on. You know, you just get it in the right hands, and then people start talking, and that's really what it is about. Like I said, sparking the conversation to bring it back to.
You got support of Out of the Blank and me, if that
Exactly.
counts for anything.
Well, no, that counts for everything. Like I said, that's more than a like, man. That's actual support. So, that brings value to me and makes me excited to get dressed and get out the door and go make something else happen and tell people about your podcast too
Put your
and get
damn
people
pants
listening.
on and get out there. Hey, dude,
Yeah.
I'll do a sponsorship thing. I'll be more than happy to promote freaking Pop Coffee Roasters.
Yeah. Well, as long as, you genuinely like the coffee and drink it, I'll keep sending it.
I've actually been doing something weird with it. I've been eating the beans to it. I know that sounds
Hey,
disgusting, but
it's not.
it's really
It's
good.
not. It's a thing people do, and I honestly I do it when they're fresh, when they right. Okay, so let's talk about right when you're pulling the beans out the roaster and they're still warm. I'll pick the right one that looks just like perfect. That's when I'll eat the bean. That's the way that I profile each roast. Personally, that's just like my little thing. I think that Jordan thinks I'm crazy when I do that, but
I've been doing it, and people are like, "Why are you just eating the bean?" I'm like, "Cause I could do this, and then I could throw it in a yogurt and make like a vanilla bean yogurt." I'm like, "Yo, this tastes just like coffee. It's amazing."
Yeah, you can put them in chocolate. They sell those. Um, you know, there's a lot of, I guess,
Methods of
it is
transportation.
they're consumable. Actually, it's funny. My daughter, we were talking about kids for a sec there a minute ago. She's 10 years old and almost 10, and she is going on, 20. She's old soul, but she likes coffee, and she liked it before I started doing this. And you know, I don't know where it came from, so I always let her have like a little sip, like like a little bit. But then she just started sneaking off and stealing beans out of the bags and eating them, and so that's her thing. Like she just takes she takes bean every time. I'm like, I don't know if this is good for your, stunting your growth or what, but she just straight eat coffee beans all the time.
It keeps her alert. It's better than chocolate.
Yeah.
Better than
Okay, she
chocolate.
does great as long as she keeps bringing home these amazing A's and like how good she is in school. We aren't complaining about the coffee.
Damn, my mom should have been feeding me coffee beans instead of fucking whatever.
I know. I don't want to get in trouble for giving my kid coffee here, but like, seriously.
Well, Josh, I really appreciate you coming out and coming back on and doing the podcast and talking again. And I'll make sure that everybody's got your links and stuff in the description, so they can check out your awesome content too. And, you know, hit you up and try and connect with you through social media, because I think that's the biggest way to grow right now.
Yeah, for sure. We're out there. Like I said earlier, you know, interact, hit us up. Let's get some coffee going. Let's get some conversation going. That's what we're about, and education as well. About